Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. You are watching a special recorded session of Agenda Awani. I'm on the sideline of the ASEAN-Japan Workshop for Innovation, Science and Technology Cooperation in Malaysia. And I'm very honoured to have with me, as usual, Professor Tan Sri Zakri Abdul Hamid, Science Advisor to the Prime Minister. And I have Mr. Michiharu Nakamura, the President of the Japan Science and Technology Agency. And for the longest time, we've been looking at Japan as a society. We had the Look East policy, but how now, us together moving with the other 9 countries of ASEAN and with bigger and bigger obstacles in the world facing us today, which is multilateral in approach to solve it. So I'm going to allow Professor Tan Sri Zakri, as usual, to open up this chat and tell us how now are we looking at Japan, especially in the areas of cooperation for science, technology, and maybe even innovation, because we do know that since the 80s, it's not as simple as we think it should be. For example, the practical application of it. How do we move beyond the obstacles and really make things work faster and more efficient as compared to before?
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. This is a very auspicious day today, when Japan and ASEAN join forces to organize this workshop on the role of innovation, science and technology. And it is within the context of a global process started in Japan about 12 years ago. This is the so-called Science and Technology for Society Forum, founded by Mr. Koji Omi, the former finance minister of Japan. So the STS forum really is the science equivalent to the World Economic Forum. So in short, it's really trying to position the role of science and technology for socio-economic development for countries. So there is a global process occurring in Kyoto every autumn, but this time a satellite meeting of that global process is being convened in Kuala Lumpur, and Malaysia, being the chair of ASEAN this year, is host to this program. So really is the purpose of the workshop is to examine how ASEAN, with the support of Japan, can promote economic and social development through science and technology.
That's a very big challenge, Tan Sri. Before I go to our Japanese guest, bilaterally that's a challenge, but multilaterally also with all ASEAN countries, because we would like to see more strengthening of cooperation, but we're building that right now. So how do, as we build ASEAN to be closer together, we are still working with Japan at the same time?
Yes.
Especially, I think, we can use STI to solve a lot of our problems right now.
Yes, yes. To start with, I think there's a strong bondage or link between Japan and the ASEAN countries. Japan is a role model for almost all of the ASEAN countries, and how through science and technology, through a knowledge-based economy, Japan has shown the world that they can advance by leaps and bounds. Secondly, historically, there's always that strong link between Japan and its neighbors. So facilitating and strengthening that linkage to science and technology is quite a natural process. Yeah.
Nakamura-san, if I can go, what areas are Japan looking at to further strengthen the cooperation with ASEAN in this respect?
Yes. Again, I'm also very glad to attend this ASEAN-Japan workshop. Today we discussed 2 major topics. One is how to materialize science and technology innovations in society. That's a very big challenge. All our stakeholders, including taxpayers, really wanting that. And the second more importantly, how can we empower female and youth for the future? These two topics were very successfully discussed. And Japan is very much interested for the global sustainability, global sustainable development. We are facing a number of challenges, global issues. So the number one, we have to work together with Asian countries to tackle with them. The second is how to realize higher quality of life, or how to keep economic competitiveness. And we do need science and technology innovation. So these two areas, economic growth or better lives, and global challenges like climate change, infectious disease, food, water, and such and such. So these are the areas we'd like to work together with ASEAN countries.
Okay, let's go for the first break, but once we are back, I'd like to get the input on how we can get past problems in transfer of technology. For example, it's very, very clear that Japan has achieved what it has achieved today, and it has been a role model in terms of clean technology, for example, in achieving where it is now. But how do we share that across to ASEAN, and what would ASEAN have in return to share with Japan? Let's discuss that after this short break.
Mana kita keluar dari pakatan bila mereka yang putuskan hubungan dengan DAP.
Awani 745 sentiasa membawakan anda berita-berita terkini, komprehensif, tak kira di mana anda berada.
Bagi saya, kena usahakan semula pakatan sebab nak lawan Barisan Nasional mesti coalition.
Jabatan Mineral dan Geosains Sabah memaklumkan hujan berterusan akan lebih meningkatkan banjir lumpur seperti yang berlaku di Sungai Liwagu dan Mesilau.
Awani 745 di Astro Awani.
Inilah Fiesta Finale, meraihkan dua kuasa besar Amerika Selatan. Semangat membakar mereka menuju kejayaan. Siapakah yang bakal juara? El Corazon del Fútbol, perlawanan akhir Copa America Chile 2015. Chile menentang Argentina secara langsung di Astro Supersport 3 dan HD.
Kemerosotan ringgit berkemungkinan menarik pelabur baru bagi pasaran bond.
Even very favorable incentive that itself attract a lot of investors.
Isnin hingga Jumaat, Business Awani.
Both countries, Malaysia and Indonesia, will help Indonesia to become member of the global supply chain.
We hope to be able to achieve a small positive for the export promotion.
Isnin hingga Jumaat, Business Awani di Astro Awani.
You are still watching a special recorded session of Agenda Awani, and like Professor Tan Sri Zakri has said, if you know World Economic Forum Davos, you must know also the STS Forum in Kyoto, and that's the equivalent for science and technology, and we're proud that it's in Asia and we are linked to it. And this is the mini satellite event which I'm on the sideline, and I would like to go back to the track of discussion just now where Professor Tan Sri, what do we have to offer Japan so that they have more incentives to work with us in terms of cooperation? Because I think more and more issues of science, technology and innovation are beyond the national boundaries of nation state, for example. So maybe we look at Asia or East Asia. That's where we have a lot of common interest in.
Right. I think one way to look at it is to frame Japan as a technology rich country, whereas the ASEAN countries in particular, except for Singapore, they are what they call resource rich countries. So when you see what have the two has to offer, so it's really approach of collaboration between the technology rich country assisting the resource rich country in trying to create products which can be of use to our society, and that can range from utilizing the biodiversity available in our forests, in our oceans, in our seas, which is still unexploited. Here again, the STS Forum is looking at the collaboration of not only one stakeholders here. It should be in the context of partnership between academia and the private sector and even the civil society. So that mix has been shown in Japan to be very effective in trying to bring to the market innovative products.
Nakamura-san, can you share with us examples of that in Japan? Because we do know that without the triple or quadruple helix, public, private, civil society, academia, for example, it's very difficult to bring from R&D to not only commercialization but practical usage for society. And with the issues of aging nation of Japan, all and more, that is very important. But what can the ASEAN countries learn? How do we make that work to put together 4 different stakeholders for the goal of making STI a reality?
Yes, that's our challenges as well. And what we are now trying to start is to have a kind of innovation hubs throughout Japan, primarily at universities, where under one roof, industry, academia, or even the government are joining, students, professionals together, so they can work together, and through the R&D, technology transfer to the society will be much easier. That is a concept. Another point of such hubs is we first set our vision. What kind of society would like to realize in 5 years, in 10 years? And from that, we backcast our R&D action items, themes, and university professors, researchers work on that. So reverse direction. So this kind of new schemes will help us to have better technology transfer or to provide necessary technology to society.
The fastest enablers of economy right now are said to be the corporations. The biggest in the world are having their yearly annual budget bigger than many countries around the world. But for better cooperation between ASEAN and Japan, maybe the public sector need to share first because of the issues of intellectual properties and stuff like that. So how do you see that, Nakamura-san? Because maybe if the public sector clearly lead the way, invest in it, and then the private sector come and populate, and then it can run faster.
Yes. I think there are more capabilities to work between two regions, Japan and Asian countries, in the advanced R&D or technology transfer to industry. And the issue you mentioned is IPR, and that is not new. We have a number of discussions with many countries. It takes time, but it's solvable. So,
Tansri, you
yeah, I agree with Professor Nakamura. And one of the points discussed during the workshop today is how we should try to develop a strong intellectual property right system within ASEAN, so that it is transparent, it is objective, it is well known, so that countries like Japan would be more encouraged to collaborate with this. And it can be done, and definitely the public sector has to take a lead on that?
We know that the burden to make the world a better place is on all of our shoulders, but we have to go for the first break because once we are back, but how do we share that across with the potential for the youth of today, the leaders of tomorrow, the women of today, the nurturers of the forces for tomorrow, and that's the social aspect that I want to weave into the usually science and technology based discussion, because at the end of the day it's implementation on ground, and when you go on ground all this has got to be factored in. We'll discuss that after this short break.
Kita pandang serius lah bagi kes yang melibatkan pemberaan kanak-kanak ni.
Ini Buletin Awani jam 12, kami akan bawakan kepada anda
perkembangan berita di dalam dan juga di luar negara hasil pengumpulan seluruh warga kerja Astro Awani.
Isu pendatang asing ni kita lihat hari ini memang dah begitu kronik.
No member of the MIC shall claim or acknowledge Dr. Subramanian as the acting president of the MIC.
Konsepnya adalah kita mengajak keluarga-keluarga Feldah menikmati aktiviti-aktiviti yang kita siapkan.
Program-program terbaik sepanjang Ramadan ini.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Kau jadi imam, aku ikut kau.
Tak Allah, panasnya. Islam tetapi tak ada suap jemaah. Ada.
Kita perlu ada KPI Ramadan supaya ada satu target.
Salam Ramadan Al-Mubarak 00.
Bil Astro kini boleh dibayar bila-bila masa di mana sahaja melalui rangkaian pembayaran elektronik terbesar di Malaysia, ePay. Cari logo ePay berwarna ungu di kedai serbaguna, stesen minyak atau kedai mamak berdekatan. Nikmati Astro dengan kemudahan ePay.
Thank you for still watching a very special recorded session of Agenda Awani. I'm still on the sideline of the satellite discussion in KL to the big Science and Technology and Society forum in Kyoto, I think in October. And we have always to look at science in 360 degrees. And I was glad I was a few months back in Tokyo for the World Assembly of Women, because under Abenomics, there's Womenomics, which is unleashing the power of the female side of society into wealth creation. But at the session today, at this satellite event for SDS, is that women and youth is being discussed directly, but the alarming statistics have been shown that in many countries, the interest of youth into science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or even the percentage of 20 to 25 years old in S&T, for example. So while we are discussing this, while we're pushing for science to be the center of a lot of things in the future, but it seems that our next generation interest in it is not as we thought it would be, or are we looking at it from a different lens as compared to them? Nakamura-san, how would you see it?
Yes, firstly, as far as the women workforce is concerned, it's one of the top priorities of Abe administration, and Abenomics claims that we have to increase female workforce. We have target, so we have to try that. But the second point is how to gather the able talent into science and technology areas. That's a very tough challenge, and we think that from even from primary school or high school, they are well educated. The family education or school education, both are very important. They have to encourage them to proceed to science and technology. It's a big challenge. Yeah.
That's why I'd like to forward that to Professor Tan Sri Zakri, because I met the Deputy Minister, and science, technology, culture, sports, it's all under one ministry there in Japan, Tan Sri. How do you look at it here?
First, let me address the question of gender and also the youth. I think Malaysia is more fortunate than Japan with regards to women's representation in the workforce. Today we heard from Dr. Sri Nurul Aino, the Secretary General of MOSTI, that there's also a national women policy in Malaysia. That's really a groundbreaking governance issue, which we are very proud of. Secondly, the representation of women, say in the university, is just almost mind-blowing. In fact, the figure now is almost more than 60% of the undergraduate in Malaysian universities are women. And there's also a conscious effort to ensure that women would make up at least 30% in the boardrooms of Malaysia. So I think we have something to show, well, Japan, in fact, how to do that, how to empower women in the workforce. But regarding youth, I think we are less fortunate. We know very well our mastery of science, technology and engineering. Mathematics is not so hot in this country. Our ranking is kind of low, but also the interest is lacking. But it's almost like a worldwide phenomenon. We also heard in Japan the interest of youth in science is also decreasing, and not like Professor Nakamura's generation. And this is where the strength of science is. So I hope this dialogue between Japan and ASEAN today would provide some way forward on how we should increase the involvement of youth in science.
Nakamura-san, I like how STS look at the concept of light and shadow of science for society. It brings light to society, but it can also bring some dark moments. But maybe for the youth, the Generation Y and Generation Z, they will take it all encompassingly because they reap the rewards of STI all this while. So maybe if they are playing video games, that to them is already an abdication of science because it's already in it. So maybe it's the way we are looking at science as compared to the younger generation. Or how do you see it? Because when I go to Japan, even the youngsters in sports, they're very scientific. They measure everything, you know, but maybe linking it to GDP is another tricky part. So how do you see it? Because I don't think the younger generation is less liking science. They want more technology, but maybe from which perspective that we want them to be in science and technology?
Oh yes, that's a very important point. When you visit Japan in trains,
yes,
or in public areas, they all enjoy the games,
yeah,
and it looks a bit strange for us,
okay,
to be honest. But we cannot say such instruments are not important for us. It's has very positive roles. So what we have to do is using advanced ICT where is really depending on us,
yes,
how we use that. That's our responsibility, not
yes,
ICT technology itself.
So do you think education is one of the
Right,
key areas? Because we might be teaching science the 20th century way when they want gamification of education. And I've been at Mahit's discussion on that, for example.
Yes, you are right. So the IT based education system is coming to Japanese schools. So they learn how to gather new knowledge, how to learn history, how to learn the world affair history, literature, whatever. So that is a very important tool for education. So we really appreciate this kind of usage.
Can you please sum it up for us? I think together between ASEAN and Japan, we can break new grounds and move things further.
Yes, just to continue what Professor Nakamura mentioned about how we can engage the youth to be more interested in science. In fact, I agree also that youth has already been involved in science, like you mentioned about gamification through IT and all that. It is full of science, but we must find and devise way to make science as fun, something which they enjoy doing. So we are on the same page on that between ASEAN and Japan. But in all the other areas also, I think Japan is showing the way on how to be a prosperous and wealthy country for the 21st century.
Agreed. And it always amazes me when I do discussion on science, the way it links back to what's real in front of us. Thank you so much, Professor Tan Sri Zakri. Thank you so much, Nakamura-san. Thank you so much to you for watching. And remember, if you've only been looking at WEF, look at STS in Kyoto, in Japan, because that's the cooler science and technology global meet, and we are directly linked to it. And keep on watching Awani, because we might just bring to you closer to STS in October. Thank you, goodbye, and I'll see you in another episode very, very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you.